Andrine Kilemi, TV47, Nairobi.
All right, from matters coronavirus to matters education now, we shift gears to matters, of course, our interview that we have planned for you. Remember, you can be part of this discussion. Twitter us at TV47KE. The hashtag to use is TV47 Spotlight. Remember, you can call in on the number on your screen. Text us on 2204. We're having a one-on-one distant discussion with Makueni Governor, Professor Kivutha Kibwana, who I believe can now hear me. Good evening, Professor, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening from Makueni, all viewers.
All right, Professor, let me start this interview by asking you the very preamble that this discussion will be based on. In 2010, Kenya promulgated a new constitution. 10 years later, are the fruits, will it be fair to say that if the fruits of devolution are yet to be seen, at best, then they are yet to trickle down to the common mwananchi?
I think the most important fruit of the 2010 constitution is that devolution is here to stay. We have established the 47 counties, Makueni being number 17, and I'm happy to be TV47. And those are established, and it is irretrievable. And we have gone also to the mashinani, and we have operationalized these units. And the people are very happy because development, which was not known before, is now being experienced by them in their various localities.
Professor, let me interject. Governor, let me interject you at that point. While the promulgation of this constitution was going on in 2010, devolution was presented as though it will be the silver bullet to Kenya's perennial problems. Is it addressing the perennial problems of Kenyans, in your own view?
Yes, I think in terms of distribution of the national resources, at least each county gets some minimum, and this comes through law. And therefore, there is an extent to which each county, every area will get certain resources. Before that never used to happen. Mm-hmm. There is also local leadership, which is near the people, which tries to address their problems. Of course, one must admit that there are still problems. Devolution is young, mm-hmm. and there are still some teething problems. But I think by and large, at least this experiment is something that is very positive. If watered better, if we all, get committed to it, citizens and leaders alike, and there is a lot of promise in this new dispensation, despite problems that we still experience.
Governor, you talk of the problems devolution is experiencing. One area that has been in the headlines in as far as the undoings of devolution is concerned has been the legality and the specification of functions. And you are the chairman of the Council of Governors Committee on the Legal Affairs and Human Rights. Given that we have seen the back and forth between the Senate and the National Assembly, the two houses in the same premises that hardly agree on issues, and notwithstanding the numbers in terms of representation, are these two houses for a country like Kenya with 47 million people, in as far as population is concerned, necessary?
Well, I think part of devolution is there is the, so to speak, law house, the National Assembly, and then there is the Senate, and it is the Senate that is supposed to protect devolution. Of course, as the National Assembly also provides particularly budgets for it, and Senate also does oversight. Both Senate and Parliament still feel they are fighting the governors, they are fighting the county government. There isn't a good relationship so that we are pulling together yet. And I think that is something as we go forward, which has to be corrected so that we can perceive ourselves as pulling or pushing in the same direction to make these two levels of government work hard and work well. So I think that is really an outstanding.
It seems as though these two levels of governments that should be working for Kenyans are many at times in a competition of wanting to outdo and outsmart each other, isn't it?
I think I would agree. I would agree with that. There is sibling rivalry. And of course, there are senators waiting to be governors. And sometimes, they may want to pull down the governors so that they can later prove that or say they are better. And of course, there are also some governors who we don't also gel very well with the other political leaders. But I think when there is proper synergy between the members of parliament, the senators, and the governors, MCAs, that will be a very good day for devolution. But that is still work in progress.
All right, Governor, we will continue with the discussion, but let me take this story. Moving on, 1 month after Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko relegated some county functions to the national government through Nairobi Metropolitan Service, now led by Major Hussein Badi, disputes around county finances have begun to emerge. And as Elizabeth Mutuku reports, the National Assembly has passed the Senate Revenue Bill allowing the Nairobi Metropolitan Service to spend shilling 16 billion amidst heated debate.
The Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2020 be now considered.
In the afternoon session, the National Assembly Parliament had a heated debate over the Senate Division of Revenue Bill, which has allocated Nairobi Metropolitan Services 16 billion shillings that will be given through the county basket. But some MPs raised queries over the legality of the transfer of functions, an exercise which was undertaken last in February.
And they were transferred not under duress. It was broad daylight. All of us were watching it on TV. Nobody was coerced. And attorneys were there, everybody was there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when, according to my understanding, the 5.2 under the transfer of functions, the deed for the transfer, when they talk about county revenue, I think they were talking about symbolically that the monies that belong to the county still can be exercised and given to the national government functions that have been transferred.
It's the people who prepared the deed transfer, the deed of transfer. And if you read that, the deed of transfer 5.2, but I look at the report of the Senate, 5.2 is very specific that the money will go to the county revenue account. So as we pass this, the president has, or the national government has two options. One is to review the deed of plan.
Problem still. And this is a problem that the Senate must deal with. It's a problem that the executive must deal with. In fact, the deed should have been more clear. If you allow the county to be deciding on how this committee, the Nairobi Metropolis, is going to be funded, Mr. Speaker, let us not run away from it. It's a problem. And with the governor called Mike Sonko. And is the one who is going to be responsible in providing money to this organ. This is something, even if we pass it as it is, as the Senate is suggesting, Mr. Speaker, still a discussion on how the smooth funding of these functions need to be done.
However, a section of MPs supporting the Senate Division Revenue Bill want the monies to be channeled directly to NMS and not county government. Some MPs expressed fears if the governor will be able to release the funds to NMS, a matter which might deny Nairobians essential services during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mr. Speaker, as we stand, it will be very unfortunate to start thinking that in fact we can still disperse money back, the money that is entitled for the transferred factions, and then we disperse this money direct to the county. I'm finding it difficulties on how the same governor will be willing to transfer this money to the needs of LMS.
We should allow what has already happened to take shape so that Nairobi can actually start seeing some leadership. Us as Nairobi members of parliament, we feel that we've been actually left out in the running of Nairobi, and you cannot, as a member of parliament, answer questions to your various constituents when you're asked, why is this not happening? Why is this not happening? You have no answers. We need to ensure that we have sanity in the leadership of Nairobi, and for that I oppose the Senate Amendment Bill.
After the National Assembly has passed Division of Revenue Bill, all eyes are now on the Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko to see whether he shall release funds to Nairobi Metropolitan Services. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi.
Well, it's quarter an hour past the hour. It's time for us to take a short break here on Spotlight. When we come back from the break, we'll be getting back to Makueni Governor Professor Kivutha Kibwana to talk matters devolution and COVID-19 and mitigations by the counties. We'll be back after this break.
Since late last year, the coronavirus COVID-19 has emerged as a serious healthcare threat. This is an infection that has gone global and no one has been spared. The government, through the Ministry of Health, has put in measures to keep Kenyans safe against COVID-19, which is currently rampant around the world, with new confirmed infections and death cases daily. Such sanitization and screening of visitors at this border post and across every entry point in the country is very vital in preventing the spread of the disease in the country.
I'm very happy about the screenings that are going on in Tanzania and Kenya. I think it's very proactive that you're thinking about stopping it at the border so that it does not spread.
It is scary that a single cough here can lead to an outbreak of epic proportions. In order to prevent that, the government has instituted measures to keep Kenyans safe.
The facility has all the equipments you need, from handling a basic patient up to ICU setting.
However, you also have a role to play in preventing spread of infections.
Citizen responsibility is the key to the success of this initiative and these measures. Let's all do what we have to do individually. And this is how we are going to defeat this disease.
It's just our general hygiene, okay? And that now means at workplaces, we should ensure that our work surfaces are clean.
Always ensure that nimefanya proper sanitation ya mikono. Every time na board matatu, lazima ni sanitize mikono.
We have faced many severe challenges as a nation, and we have always found a way to rise above them. COVID-19 is no different, and we will overcome the pandemic. Stop coronavirus. Follow all directives from the Ministry of Health. Wash your hands properly.
Welcome back to TV47 Spotlight. Thank you for choosing to stay with us. And before we even get back to the discussion, you can be part of this discussion. Call us on the number on your screen. Send us a message on 22047. On Twitter, use the hashtag at TV47KE, and the hashtag is TV47 Spotlight. We'll gladly incorporate some of your views into this discussion. Now, let's get back to the discussion itself. Governor, before we move on from devolution and the gains so far, what will it need to create a synergy between the two houses so that they see one another as people who are working for Kenyans rather than two houses that are in competition with one another?
I think it is understanding that in supporting devolution, they are working for the people who elected them to those two houses. Because there are times when, for example, resources are delayed to the counties because the National Assembly and Senate are not agreeing. And it takes a lot of, a bit of time even for the executive, national executive, to be able to finalize budget making. So I think it is that clear understanding that when they support the counties, they are supporting the people who have voted for both governors, MCAs, and themselves. And again, for also us, because I am not saying that we are the angels, also for us at the county level, to give the legislators at the national level the comfort that they require, so that there isn't also negative competition, so that all of us can actually work for the benefit of our citizenry and for the benefit of devolution, to entrench it, to make it clearly a very important part of our political system and the system of resource distribution.
Much of the misunderstanding between the two houses, in my own view, Governor, and as a lawyer, I'll ask you this question, has been on the definition of roles that each house should play. There are claims of duplication of these roles in as far as the two houses are concerned. As an associate professor of law, is there a clear-cut definition of what the roles of these two houses are in as far as the Constitution is concerned?
I think when we made the 2010 Constitution, we didn't clearly define the role of particularly Senate as the body that would ultimately make the final decision on legislative matters that have to do with devolution. It was not clearly made the upper house. And I think in some of the conversations before COVID, one of the things that was being canvassed was, could it be made clear that Senate is actually the upper house and matters devolution rest with it. And of course, because the National Assembly is many people, Senate a few people, there are still moments when both of them are kind of wrestling. And this is not really good, because in mature democracies like USA, both Congress and Senate, they work quite well together. Therefore, I think as time goes on and as we mature, we have to realize that, the two national houses will work well together. The county assembly, county executive will work also well together for the citizenry. And both of us as leaders try to make devolution work the best it can, so that there is more resources, more development to our people.
All right, Governor, on Friday at Wote, you said, and I quote, "When people are at war," in reference to COVID-19, "they don't fight alone, but we need to fight together so that we can win the war against COVID-19 pandemic," end of quote. In this war, were our counties prepared for it?
I think one cannot say that we were completely prepared, because this pandemic came as more or less an ambush. This is like a guerrilla warfare. The COVID really just happened on the continent, and even in the developed world, it took them by storm. They were not prepared because they were not expecting it. And it is some disease which is there wasn't even a vaccine for. It is something novel, new. Therefore, the preparation that we are beginning now to get involved in, it is by entities, especially county assemblies and even at the national level, and in Africa for that matter, where we are battling something very, very new. And that is why all those protocols, all the actions, we are thinking about them as we move, we implement things, we try sometimes, it's trial and error, then we become better.
Fair enough, Governor. It's very understandable, the kind of pandemic that the world is grappling with, not only Kenya, but hasn't this as well shown, or if not brought to light, the very state of Kenya's healthcare system, if not the county's healthcare systems?
Well, I think Kenya's healthcare system is probably, one of the systems that do very well, considerably well on the continent. But as I try to point out, this is a new disease, and as a result, most systems are unprepared for it. For example, in Italy, in some of the countries abroad, they have reached a point where they have even to make decisions about which patients to give support and which patients not to, when you don't have enough ventilators in whatever. So I cannot fault our system as such, but it is the things that we do from the beginning, like from when we teach people, because this is a disease where the best thing is prevention. It is not just treating them at the end, because if we get there, it will not be easy. So it is for us to say, what do we do to tell our people that when the government says certain things, national, county, please obey the social distance, obey the masks, obey not going into big meetings, gatherings, Governor, whether it is places of markets and so on.
Governor, you say Kenya has one of the best healthcare systems. If you look at some of the numbers, 22 counties lacking intensive care beds, a country as Kenya having only 518 ICU beds, of which 439 beds are already occupied and in use across hospitals in the country. That doesn't paint a picture of a rosy healthcare system, does it?
No, we are talking about Africa. I'm not, of course, comparing Kenya and the USA and all those countries. And in actual fact, in some of the African countries, those statistics you have quoted don't exist whatsoever. Of course, we are trying our level best to improve on whether it is PPEs, whether it is even the staff, recruiting more staff. That is happening in the county governments and national government. So we are doing all those things so that we are more prepared. But having said that, and we keep on insisting, it is better to prevent rather than to cure. And that is the messages that you are helping to send out there as a television station, the radios and all that. Those are very critical, and for people to obey them, because that's where our salvation will come from.
All right, you are the governor of Makueni County, a county that is yet to register, in as far as I know, of any coronavirus cases. How alert and how prepared is the county you lead in as far as combating COVID-19 is concerned?
I think, as I said, we are trying to do quite well in terms of educating our people. And we believe that we want to reach every household. We have about 4,200 community health workers who are being trained to do that. We have about 40,000 members of our development committees who are also being trained to reach every household, so that, of course, with distance, with social distance, so that they can take the messages. They will know people are visiting from wherever and pinpoint that. They will know who is hypertensive, and who has diabetes, people who can be at more risk, the also situation of livelihood, of food, and so on. So that's the first line of defense. Then we have trained our medical personnel, because it's very important for them to get the protocols of this new disease. That is one of the earlier things that we did.
When you say you have trained your medical personnel, these are medical personnel that were already working for the county, or are they new ones?
Correct. That is correct. And even as we have worked with KMTC, and they have helped us with about 100 medical personnel, and whatever now which is being recruited, the people are being recruited also. because although they have qualified as doctors and they have qualified as nurses and clinical officers, but the protocols of treating COVID, like Ebola, these are new. Unfortunately, we had people had been to Congo, DRC,
yes,
helping in Ebola, and therefore they are helping us to train our people here. We also have done a COVID unit. We transformed a unit that was almost ready for a youth-friendly center, and we have transformed it so that it offers about 22 beds for critical care in a place called in our headquarters, Wote. We have also done. We are doing the same in Makueni, the second place for treatment, and we have done an isolation center which is almost complete of about 750 to 800 beds in Makueni, a place where the KMTC was doing a major school where the Chinese used to use. So we know that this is a problem, and even without having any cases, that is why we are clearly preparing those for the worst.
Governor, you have made your point, and doing a comparison, every governor is at least trying to tell people of what they have done. To a common Kenyan, what surety is there that the same attention the healthcare system is being given now will be upheld post-COVID-19? Is there any surety that this is the same attention that all healthcare professionals and all healthcare issues will be given to?
I think COVID-19, coronavirus, will change not only Kenya, but Africa, all countries of the world. Things that we are learning now, like you would have called me to the TV station so that I could give a live interview there. Yes. Now you are doing this through Skype. Again, in the health sector, the things that we are learning and the diligence and the emergency, I mean, really making sure that we treat every disease in a very special way. These are lessons that we must not forget. So I think COVID... And
are there lessons easy to forget, as we have seen a trend?
If we forget, like the governor of New York said, then we will be stupid. He said, you know, when we are fighting this disease, we shouldn't be stupid. If we forget, then really it will be a very sorry state of our country, of Africa, of those who forget.
Governor, in an earlier statement, you said, and I again quote you, the voice of the teachers is heard in the community, so I urge you to work with everybody, including students who are at home, on what they should do to curb the spread of the virus. What exactly will the role of teachers be? Is it more than decimating this information?
I think teachers, because they are listened to by the communities, they are respected and they help communities. They have an important voice. I think one of the things that they need to do is to reinforce these messages that are coming from the president, are coming from Minister Kagwe, Minister Matiang, as leaders of the national level, and from governors, from everybody. So reinforcing that, I think, will be very important. And even the example, like when they don't partake of those things that are being forbidden, like too much social, like drinking, like going to the bars, and like, you know, doing all those things. People copy.
Governor,
and even the young
Governor, let me interject you at that point. I understand we have a caller on phone, John Adama from Bungoma. John, good evening.
Mzuri sana, habari zenu hapo kwa studio.
Mzuri, mchango wako ni upi leo usiku?
Kwanza kabisa nataka nimpongeze mheshimiwa Kibuta Kibwana. Nikikumbuka kazi aliyofanya 1990 kwa katiba, mambo ya katiba. Inasema congratulations. So, jana nilisema na hata leo ninasema msimamo wangu kwa kulingana na hii maneno ya COVID-19. Ministry of Health, politicians na media, watu wa media. Ninasema watu wa media ninawapatia 101%.
John, tunashukuru. If you will kindly ask a question or make a comment.
Alafu ya pili ninasema ninawapongeza hapo sana kwa sababu mmejaribu kutusaidia tumeelewa maneno ya corona zaidi. Na nikikuja kumeka comment nataka kusema namna hivi. Wale wanaotoa misaada kwa wale watu, especially on the side of politicians, wanatoa misaada kwa wananchi, wahakikishe kwanza wananchi hao wamevalia barakoa, wana maji ya kunawa, wamepiga hatua ya mita moja, au else nimesema watumie huduma namba, itasaidia sana.
Asante, John. Of course, John is calling us from Bungoma, making his contribution to the show. You can also, as a viewer, be part of this discussion. Tweet us at TV47KE. The hashtag to use is TV47 Spotlight. Call us, as John did, or text us on 22047. Governor, I was asking you of the role the teachers have in as far as combating this COVID-19 pandemic is concerned. If you'll go ahead.
Yes, and that's why I was saying their central role, I think, will be disseminating the messages, reinforcing what already is coming through from the leadership and from particularly the health sector. And also the example, because they are there with the community, their example, if they do certain things, they are wearing the masks, they are not engaging in those social things when there are funerals, because they are normally masters of ceremony. They will make sure that there are less people. They are also leaders in the religious sector, the lay leadership. So there's really a lot that they can do to sensitize our people. And of course, some of them, like in our situation, they were some of the first ones to give donations towards the cause, Kesha, led by a gentleman called Mr. Mutui. So, again, that spirit of philanthropy and that spirit of Arambe, teachers also at the local level can lead it.
All right, Governor, you made mention of Kesha, which is the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association, and in your county they gave out 120 jerrycans and 1,000 masks. Is it so?
Yes, that's correct. You have very good data.
All right, Governor, let me ask you this question now. Let's move as well from COVID to politics. There are those who in the political square argue that COVID-19 pandemic has stopped what arguably was to be unstoppable reggae. Has it stopped?
Well, I think we have now a different priority. We are focusing on something that is, if I will say, God-sent to the whole world.
In which way?
God wants to remind that He's still supreme. So to that extent, I think we are showing a significant responsibility as politicians by saying, let us first of all focus on something that is, threatening our communities. And I think this is particularly not the era of, a lot of the politics that we were doing before. We need to secure our people first, and then politics will follow.
And by so doing, has COVID-19 still, I'll insist on the question, stopped reggae?
Well, I think, of course, it's us, the politicians, and it is the leadership, which said we should not have social gatherings and meetings and all those places. And as a result, there is nowhere now to do reggae because our president said, now let us not congregate where we can get our people to be in problems, risky situations. So in a way, I think in his leadership, he realized that this is not the time for a lot of politics. This is not the time for endangering the people, and he changed gears. And I think he should be commended for that.
All right, and at that point of reggae and the stopping or not, we are taking another short break here on Spotlight. We'll be back with this discussion and much more after this break. Stay with us.
When it comes to pimple care, Acne's Creamy Wash contains multiple vitamins and removes excessive oil and dirt. Acne's Toner rejuvenates skin. Acne's Sealing Gel fights bacteria. Use Mentholatum Acne's for clear and smooth skin every day.
My name is Sujata Kotam Raju. I am the National General Secretary of Hindu Council of Kenya. Namaskar to my dear sisters and brothers. Now this is the time everyone will have to take the responsibility to fight against this virus, not to spread further in this country. If at all, if you want to go out, maintain the social distance. Avoid going to the enclosed areas like supermarket, temples, churches, and any religious functions. Avoid shaking your hands and hugs, any form of physical contact. You can just say Namaste. For more information, dial 719 or *719 hash. Kamesha Corona.
For more inquiries, please email ads@tv47.co.ke or simply call us on 0748 205 604.
Watching us live on TV47. This is TV47 Spotlight. We're having a one-on-one discussion with a distant professor, the governor of Makueni County, Professor Kivutha Kibwana. Remember, you can call in, text us on 22047 and be part of this discussion. Governor, let me ask you now questions that are quite specific and tailored to your own county. For the financial year of 2017-2018, your county received a clean bill of health for reasons that Makueni County was given a clean bill of health. This was in relation to the strict adherence to the procurement law. A year later, a petition was presented to Senate questioning some of the spending of the county of Makueni. Was it not a bittersweet dose that in 1 year you were given a clean bill of health, the following year you're being questioned for graft cases?
I think the Auditor General, who looks at all the financials of public bodies, was able to see Makueni and Nyandarua as the two counties which did not have an audit query. And actually, there is something that we do in Makueni which probably doesn't happen elsewhere on the continent, even at national level.
What is that?
That is our procurement system is open contracting. All the information about our tenders is open. Anybody can see it.
And by open, you mean this information is available to the people, or what exactly do you mean by open?
To anybody.
This the composition of these petitions. You say you do an open tender. Why would the petitioners, for instance, question and urge the EACC to investigate the Kalamba fruit plant funded by the county government to the tune of 1 billion shillings? If it was an open system?
First of all, that is the Kalamba is not 1 billion, first of all. And all of those things that they put to the EACC, when one comes to Makueni, and because, for example, they said it never existed. How can you say that something does not exist when it is doing puree, when it is selling puree even to Del Monte, to Kenya wines, to Sudan? So, in this politics that we have, and sometimes they are not very positive, all sorts of things happen. And of course, we are very open and we invite everybody to come and see the things that we do. And if there is any wrongdoing, of course, people are usually taken to court. But a lot of people fight us because we actually stand for integrity. That's our hallmark, and people don't like that.
Governor, the petitioner says, and I quote, you will disagree or if otherwise at least respond to this, that project is, quote, a white elephant project that has no value for money and never benefited the people of Makueni. If then you say it has benefits for the people of Makueni, how is it benefiting them?
Well, I think, first of all, one of the best things is for one to come down to Makueni and ask the people where they sell their mangoes to come to because like many of those people criticize us, we have pleaded with them to come to Kalamba, to see what is in Kalamba, to see, how we manufacture the puree, how we do those things. And now we are even about to manufacture the juice itself, as well as to manufacture water. But they never want to come. So, in politics, I don't know whether it's the same in the media world. There are people who just want to put you down and they tell lies and they think they'll stick. But I would, for example, like TV47 to come to Kalamba to take pictures, to talk to farmers and ask them about what we do in
Kalamba, isn't it? Fair enough. You dispute that the figure is not 1 billion shillings. What is the figure for this particular plant?
The figure was about 800 million. And we even have assistance from European Union to the tune of like about 100 million. As I said, unfortunately, there are people, when you do well, they'll put you down. And I remember asking the Kajuang committee, now, are you saying that when we do very well and we have a clean report, that becomes a problem? You start asking us questions which have nothing to do with the report, but other extraneous things. Should we do badly so that we are just like all the other people who do bad things? So I think we also need the culture of appreciate.
Governor, quite a number of times you are talking of people, you are saying they, who in reference, do you know who these people are or could be?
Unfortunately, some of those people are in the party that I'm in, which is the Wiper Party, because after we had some disagreement, maybe their politics are such that they would like to put somebody down, and we just leave that to God.
All right, Governor, you talk of Wiper Party. First, let me ask you this question. Are you still a member of the party?
Because I got elected through this party, through Wiper, we had a coalition agreement with the Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. When I was in Muungano, he asked me to come to Wiper to support him. We actually had 2 meetings in Makueni, one at a place called Kadoka, another one Kambu, where the people said, we are giving you this governor and we want you to treat him well. But unfortunately, the things that we agreed in the coalition agreement, most of them were not done, and maybe we don't have time to give.
Governor, I understand we have a caller on phone. George, good evening, George. You have a question for the governor, I guess?
Yeah.
Go ahead. George, unfortunately, we have lost you. Governor, let me ask you, now that you say it's not as rosy as it was in as far as the party membership is concerned, I'll still ask you the very same question I've asked. Are you still a member of Wiper Party?
No, legally I'm a member, because if I left, then I wouldn't be a governor. And we had gotten into a coalition, Muungano and Wiper. According to me, Wiper did not follow the things that we said. And at some point, after having been a chair, they got me out and they discontinued the coalition. So I'm just waiting for time. And come 2022, as I myself and the people of Makueni and the people of Kenya, let me say that, as they tell me what else I should do, it won't be in Wiper.
All right, you say you are legally there, but politically, seemingly your heart is elsewhere. But nonetheless, doesn't this not paint a picture of a divided Kamba base?
Well, I think we should go beyond Kamba, yes. Kamba...
For the specifics of the party itself.
Yes, the Kambas are an important community, definitely, in this country, like other communities. But I think now we should pitch our politics also at the national level. And I'm thinking that my eyes are really... that's where my eyes are, politics at the national level, and of course, the community gives you its blessings. And I'm thinking that at some point I'm going to ask, the blessings of the community so that I can go to the national platform and not in Wiper.
All right, and as we finalize this discussion, you somehow have preempted my very last question, which is coming from a media interview you did, I suppose, last year. You said, and I quote, "I think I have what it takes to be the president of Kenya, post-COVID pandemic, and in 2022 politics. Is Professor Kivutha Kibwana, the current Makueni governor, eyeing to be the president of this country?"
I think the most important thing is you offer yourself to lead if the people will agree.
Will you offer yourself to lead?
Yes, and it is a decision of the people. And you can't just on your own say, I want to be the president of Kenya on your own, because it won't work. So you find like-minded people, you find a community of progressive people, a community of people, who are trying to do good things. I'm excited about, somebody like Kagwe came recently, and you can see what he's trying to do. People like Akina Matiang, there are many people, and people actually who from a long time were fighting for the constitution and so on. So it's a question really of looking for those like-minded people, and then saying to Kenya, the Mukisa Kituis, the Mother Karuas, and the others I've mentioned, and to say, what about... and of course, there are other people that I admire who are in current politics. There are others I don't quite admire because I don't think there is freshness in them. And then you have that like-minded group, and then you offer yourselves to Kenyans. And if they say, Kibwana, you lead us, then I'll say that's good. If they say somebody else to lead us, we will agree and we'll say we want to offer the leadership to our country 2022, and we go forward.
All right, Professor, I think you have made your point on that point. Frank Obare says on Twitter, Abubakar, locked from Dhika, would you mind asking the governor which seat is going for come 2022? I think I've already asked him that. Fair enough. Governor, I understand we are out of time, but thank you. And thank you again for making time for us this evening.
And asante and all the best to TV47.
All right, Governor. Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's edition of TV47 Spotlight. On behalf of the entire team that made this production possible, bye for now and have a good night.